Hi, my name is Nathan. You're watching Nice at Dice, and today I'm taking a look at a game called Infinity Gauntlet. It's a small game, comes in a little bag like this. It's only about 35 cards or so. And in this game, for 1 to 6 players, one player is going to take on the role of the character Thanos from the Marvel Comics universe, and they are trying to collect the Infinity Stones so they can accomplish their evil plan. And the other players are playing heroes from Marvel Comics that are working together to try and stop Thanos. This game is actually an adaptation of a very popular game called Love Letter. If you don't know anything about Love Letter, that's okay. I'm going to explain how this game works, and then we'll come back up here, and I'll give you my thoughts on it. Okay, now I think I just said that this is a game for 1 to 6 players. That's not correct. It's for 2 to 6 players. You're always going to have at least 2. What I have set up here is basically a 4-player game. So you have one player who's going to be playing Thanos, and then you have 3 other players who are playing against Thanos. Thanos is going to start out with 2 cards in his hand. Each of the other players starts out with 1 card. Thanos has his own deck of cards that he draws from. The other players have their deck of cards that they draw from. There's a couple of, a handful of tokens there in the middle. I'll explain in a minute. And then there's this card. This card is very important, so I'll go ahead and explain what this card does. This card tracks basically the health of the heroes on this side and the health of Thanos on this side. Thanos' starting health varies depending on the number of players. And basically the object of the game for the heroes is to reduce Thanos' health all the way to 0. If they can do that, then they win. The object of the game for Thanos is to either reduce the heroes down to 0 health, or to get all 6 of the Infinity Stones into play. Now, the heroes do all share the same health, okay? So every time the heroes take a hit, it goes towards their communal health there. So that's important to know. And then as far as putting the Infinity Stones out, the Infinity Stones are going to be on cards like this one. So here we have the Time Stone. So if Thanos can get the Time Stone into play, that's 1 out of 6 that he needs in play. So it's very simple how it's played. Thanos is going to take the first turn. He's going to draw a 3rd card, and then he's going to play one of his 3 cards. When he plays it, it's going to go in front of him, and he's going to do something based on what it says. So, for example, this card here says you may fight an opponent. So there's a lot of cards for both Thanos and for the heroes that say they can fight. So let's say we play this card and we say we're going to fight this guy. So I'm going to choose 1 card from my hand. Maybe I'll choose this Time Stone, and I'm going to secretly compare it with this player's card. Okay, he's going to be able to see both cards too, but the other 2 players aren't going to see them. So we're going to compare those cards, and we're going to compare just the values of them. So we see that Thanos has a 6 and the hero player has a 4. So Thanos wins this fight. So again, without revealing these 2 cards to the rest of the players, this player is going to discard this card in front of him. So now everybody over here at least knows that the card I have is worth more than 6, has a higher number than 6. So that much information they have, but they don't know precisely what card I have. This card is going to go back into my hand. This player is going to draw another card to replace the card he lost, and we're going to move this tracker down 1 to indicate that the heroes have taken 1 hit. And that'll be Thanos' turn. So now it's going to be this player's turn. He's going to pick up his hand, and he's going to draw 1 more card from the deck, and then he's going to choose one of these 2 cards to play. So he could play something like this, which says you or a teammate may fight Thanos, so that's going to work just the same way, this fight that you just saw over here. Or he could play something like this, where it says choose a teammate to look at 1 card in Thanos' hand. So let's say we do that. He'll play this card here, and he's going to choose this player over here to look at Thanos' hand. So he gets to choose 1 card, and so let's say he says, oh, the card on your right. Okay, so then Thanos is going to not show it to everybody else, but secretly show it to that player. He's going to see that it's the Time Stone, it's a 6. Okay, cool. So now this guy has that information. He's going to go next. He's got his hand here, and he's going to draw a card from here. And then he's going to see what his options are. So, like, for example, he has Nebula, one of her ability when he plays her. Guess a number, defeat one card of that number in Thanos' hand. Well, this player just let this player see that that Thanos had the time stone. So this player could play that card in front of them, and they guess a number. They're going to guess the number 6 because that's the number on the time stone. So Thanos has to say, yeah, I had a 6. It was this card. So boom, that got hit, and that means Thanos takes a hit. He's one step closer to losing. This card, because it is a time stone, if it's defeated, either in a battle or in a guess like that, it gets shuffled back into Thanos' deck. This is going to go around. This player is going to get a turn. They're going to do their thing. Thanos would have drawn a card to replace the one that got defeated. Then on his next turn, he's going to draw another card. And basically, you're going to play like that. If you get a stone, you can play it if you're Thanos. And there's another stone, and a third stone, and a fourth stone. So the stones, as you play them, they do things like all the other cards, but also once you have all 6 stones either in front of you or in your hand, and you're Thanos, you can declare, if there's some in your hand, you can reveal them, and boom, you won. So that's basically how the game plays. There are these tokens here, so some of the cards will tell you to give a power token to someone. So they'll take one of these tokens and they'll keep it in front of them. And then during a subsequent battle, they discard this token to add 2 to the value of the card they're battling with. So that's what those tokens are for. That's basically how the game plays. Let's go back up and I'll give you my thoughts on it. Well, hopefully that gives you a good idea of how the game is played and also maybe a little bit of a feel of the game. So my thoughts on the game. Well, first of all, just to mention briefly production value, I do like the production of the game. I like these big chunky tokens for the power-ups. Those are pretty cool. The cards are a nice quality, and I like the art on the cards. Not only does the art look good, I mean, if you like comic book style art, this is pretty decent for comic book style art, so I like that. But I also like, it's just a nice touch that there's a different piece of art on every card here, with the exception of Thanos' Outriders. There's 2 of those in his deck. They both have the same art, but aside from that, every card in this deck has a different piece of art on it, and I like that, especially like here with the hero deck. So you have 2 cards with a value of 4, both have the same ability. One is Doctor Strange, one is Falcon. That's unnecessary, but it's a nice touch, so I like that they did that. I am not a huge fan of these bags. I'd rather have my games in a box, even if it's just a small game, put it in a small box. But that's just a personal preference thing. The bag does seem to be of good quality for what it is. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the production. I like it. Now, the gameplay itself. I like that the game is very fast. Your turns are quick. You're really just making a decision between one of 2 cards, or if you're the Thanos player, you're choosing 1 out of 3 cards. So there's not a lot to the rules. Gameplay is very fast. It moves around the table quickly. It's back to your turn again quickly. There's not a lot of rules to memorize. Really, it boils down to a lot of what's going on at the table between the players. You do have these handy reference cards that tell you what's in each player's deck, the hero's deck and Thanos' deck. And so this tells you basically like all the values of Thanos' cards, what the card does, and how many of that card are in his deck. And then you have the same thing for the hero deck. So that's a handy reference. And then since there are only about like 29 cards that you actually play with in this game, after you play it a few times, you're going to start to remember what cards are in the decks, even without the reference card. But so what that creates is it creates a situation where as you watch what other people are playing, you're going to start to be able to figure out or at least determine the odds of what they have. And that's a big part of the game because, for example, in my little demonstration there, you saw a situation where 2 players battled, so they compared their cards, and whoever had the higher value won the battle. So in that kind of situation, you want to be able to kind of count the cards on the table and sort of see, well, these players have already played, lots of like 5s and 6s. So if I'm Thanos, I have a 6 in my hand. odds are I can probably beat anybody else on the table. So you're looking for stuff like that, or if you have one of those cards that lets you guess the value of a card in someone's hand, again, you're looking at what's been played, you're kind of counting the cards and making an educated guess about what that player might actually have in their hand. I like how on the hero side you have that cooperative aspect to it as well, because like you saw again in the little demonstration I did, there's ways you can set each other up. You can allow your ally to see what Thanos has in his hand. You can let him see one of his cards, and then you're hoping that ally has one of those cards that lets them make a guess, so then they can guess the card that they just saw. So things like that. You can also hand those power-up tokens to other people, hoping that they'll have cards that let them battle, and the power-up token will increase their odds of winning that battle. So there's different ways you can cooperate like that. It's pretty cool. I think, you're going to want to probably compare this to Love Letter. So Love Letter, again, very popular game, very similar mechanisms. It doesn't have the one versus many aspect. It's just kind of free-for-all, everyone for themselves. I think the original Love Letter plays 1 to 4. This plays plays 2 to 4. This plays 2 to 6. So this can entertain a few more people than the basic Love Letter can. So there's some differences there, but overall it's a pretty similar gameplay, similar aspect of like watching what people play, counting cards, trying to figure out what the odds are that people have certain cards in their hand. So at the end of the day, I think this is a good game. I recommend it. It's, again, a lot of fun, very simple, very fast. Now, it's not going to stay in my collection, and I think that's worth mentioning, and I'll tell you why, just in case any of these criteria happen to apply to you as well. So, first of all, it's Marvel, and I really like Marvel. I'm a big fan of Marvel Comics and the Marvel movies and all of that, but I already have a couple of other Marvel Comics games, all right? I've got Legendary, and I've got 5-Minute Marvel, so if I'm just looking to scratch the itch for that Marvel Comics theme, I've got that covered elsewhere. It is basically a version of Love Letter, which I already have, and I like the Marvel theme, but I actually really like the theme of just the base Love Letter, just that idea of basically there's a princess, you're all trying to win the princess's affections by getting her these love letters, and whoever does the best at getting the love letters to her is the winner of the game. That's just a really unique and different theme, so I kind of like having a unique and different theme over a theme that's kind of oversaturated in the gaming market right now. And then also the whole one versus many thing is really cool. I like that concept, especially in a simple card game like this. But I also have a game called Not Alone, which is a simple card game about a group of people stranded on a planet, and there's a creature there that's hunting them down. It's a one versus many game. Supports, I think, 2 to 7 players, and again, pretty simple. Has a lot of the same concepts, but it also has a couple of expansions, which gives it added depth of play that this doesn't have. So, for those reasons, because I have those other games, I have other Marvel games, I have the original Love Letter, I have Not Alone, which has that, simple card play, one versus many experience. Because I have those, I don't feel like I need to hang on to this. If I didn't have those games, though, this would be really cool because it does do those 3 things. It has the Marvel theme, it has the Love Letter mechanics, it has the one versus many. It's got all 3 of those things in one package, so that is cool. And you may have those other games and still find that this game is worth having as an alternative to those other games. But for me, I think I'm fine with those other games. I like those games. I've had them for a while, so I don't feel the need to hang on to this. But that's not really to put this down. That's just my personal circumstances. I still highly recommend the Infinity Gauntlet game, a Love Letter game. It is a very fun game. It's very fast, quick, simple to learn, and really keeps the attention on the players at the table and in the interactions there, which I think is excellent. So, again, that's Infinity Gauntlet. My name is Nathan. You're watching Nice at Dice. Thank you so much for watching, and you enjoy the rest of your day.